Have you been going around the internet looking for the ultimate baseball podcast? Well, you've just found it. On the Dugout Report, we'll cover not only the latest news from across Major League Baseball, but we'll also analyze and break down the hottest games, players, stats, and takes from every aspect of the game, including from on the field, in the dugout and clubhouse, from the front office, and so much more. As longtime White Sox broadcaster Ken the Hawk Harrelson would say, sit back, relax, and strap it down. This is the Dugout Report podcast with Andrew Caruso. Hello everyone, and a very happy Monday to you, wherever you may be. This is episode 7 on the Dugout Report, on this Sunday, February 14th, 2022. Happy Valentine's Day to those of you who celebrate. One of those holidays that shouldn't be a holiday, but it really is. But, anyways, happy Valentine's Day to those of you who celebrate. Also, happy Super Bowl Sunday to those of you who celebrate, who celebrated yesterday. Since this is a baseball podcast, I won't be discussing the Super Bowl on this show. Sorry. Anyways, on this episode, I'll cover the latest lockout developments, including the U.S. Department of Labor offering assistance to help end the lockout days after the player declined the league's offer to use a federal mediator, and a recap of Commissioner Manfred's press conference from this past Thursday. Next up, I'll cover the news surrounding Trevor Bauer and the decision by the Los Angeles court system to drop the criminal charges against him after his assault allegations. I'll also give my thoughts on MLB's decision to end random drug testing for the first time in nearly 3 decades as a result of the lockout. After that, I'll cover the news regarding the retirement of longtime Dodgers and Padres first baseman Adrian Gonzalez, who hasn't played in the majors since 2018. Lastly, to cap off the episode, as has been the custom these days, we'll do another free agent profile as voted on by you the fans. Stay tuned till the end to see who this week's spotlighted player is. This week's episode might end up being on the shorter side since there isn't too much to cover. And sorry, this episode is coming out a day late. If you saw my tweet yesterday, I couldn't get it out on time on yesterday because I spent all day working on the script, and by the time I had finished the script and recorded the episode and edited it and published it, it would have been too late, and I didn't want to put it out because I knew some people I know a lot of y'all were going to watch the Super Bowl, so I just decided to call it a day. So anyway, we're just doing this the episode is coming out a day later than normally expected. So thank you for your patience and understanding in the delay. Anyways, before we jump into covering this week's news, I hope everyone is doing well. I wanted to let you know that this is the last episode for a couple of weeks, as there won't be an episode next Sunday, February 20th, as I'm going on vacation, as I have no school for the week due to the President's Day holiday, and it will be impossible for me to record an episode, as I won't have my equipment with me while I'm away. The show will return with episode 8 on Sunday the 27th. Secondly, as I mentioned in the intro, I will be covering the news surrounding Trevor Bauer. However, I will not go into great detail about the allegations that led up to this event. I'll touch on that stuff lightly, but as I said on Twitter a few days ago, I don't believe it's appropriate for me to go into all the details, especially since what led up to this is all of this is a topic of sensitive nature and may make some people uncomfortable. As a host, I want to keep my podcast comfortable, friendly, and safe for everyone, and the best way I can keep it that way is by avoiding discussing sensitive topics like Bauer's situation at great length. If you want the details of the whole situation, you can read the dozens of articles that have been published and written online about it. But again, I'm not going to give many details, especially on a public platform like this, as many people listen to my show, and it's a boundary I'm not willing to cross for everyone's safety. Thank you for your understanding with this matter. Again, anyways, if you missed the last episode from last week, you can listen to that episode and previous editions of the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. SoundCloud, however, has been having difficulties uploading recently, though, and thus only the first 3 or 4 episodes are available there. As a result of my difficulties, I've decided to discontinue use of that platform until further notice, or until I can fix the problem or find another platform to stream on. Also, I want to remind you that you can follow the show on Twitter at DugoutRepPod. That's Dugout REP Pod. While you're at it, follow my personal Twitter feed and my Instagram page at AndrewCaruso77. Postings on Instagram are infrequent, so Twitter will remain the primary place to follow and connect with me in the show. That's enough social media talk for one day, and we've got a lot to cover, and so we can't waste any more time. With that being said, let's head into the dugout to talk baseball. Our top story this week is covering the latest lockout developments, as on Monday, which is last week, February 7th, the U.S. Department of Labor offered to help negotiate with MLB to help end the lockout days after the players declined the league's use of a federal mediator. I covered all the details on with that situation on last week's episode. You can listen to that if you want more information. In offering this assistance, Labor Secretary Marty Walsh stated, quote, "I've spoken to both the MLBPA and the MLB about the ongoing contract negotiations and encourage both sides to continue engagement. Like any contract negotiation in this industry, I stand ready to help facilitate productive conversations that result in the best outcome for workers and employers. Believe it or not, it's not uncommon for the DOL to get involved in high-profile disputes like this, so we shall see if the department is able to assist MLB in ending the lockout sooner rather than later. This is the MLB's second longest work stoppage after the one in 1994 and 1995, which lasted 232 days and wiped out 948 regular season games, canceled the playoffs, and delayed the start of the 1995 season by 3 weeks. Also, on Thursday, February 9th, Commissioner Manfred addressed the media from Orlando regarding the lockout. He called the possibility of missing regular season games and the whole lockout a, quote, disastrous outcome for the players and fans. However, at the same time, he seemed optimistic that the league will have a deal in place to play the full 162 games. While he didn't announce it, spring training is most definitely delayed, as the pitchers and catchers were supposed to report to camp tomorrow, February 15th, and games are supposed to start on February 26th. Once things picked up and the lockout hopefully ends, Manfred said that about 4 weeks would be needed for spring training, and then the season would start. During the period when the owners met, the players met by themselves, and both sides are scheduled to meet on February 12th, which is a couple of days after this episode is going to be released today on the 14th. So I will cover the results of their meeting on the next episode. But anyways, actually there wasn't much in the meeting. It was a 45-minute meeting and there was no deal, so I can't go into great detail. So that was the result of the owners' meeting from the meeting of the MLB and the PA from the 12th, this Saturday. So yeah, so no deal yet, which is unfortunate. Anyways, perhaps the only positive to come out of the commissioner's remarks that he announced that both sides agreed to have the universal designated hitter come to the National League permanently, starting with the 2022 season after it was previously used there during the shortened 2020 season. As you can imagine, I'm really happy to see the DH finally come to the NL, as it gives the lineups in that league even more depth, with an additional spot opening up for another hitter with the adoption of the rule. Also, with the pitchers not having to hit, could help them stay healthier and allow them to pitch more games, since injuries sustained in the box will be a thing in the past with the DH. It'll be interesting to see who each team will pencil in as their everyday hitter. For NL players who aren't so great in the field but are everyday type of bats, this rule will benefit them greatly. People online were saying that this is going to be a fun trivia question in a few years to ask people, was the last pitcher to get a hit or the last pitcher to hit a homer in a few years? Another one said that unless your player's name is Shohei Ohtani, they shouldn't be hitting or pitching, and I have to agree with that statement. In fact, the player for this week's free agent profile is someone who will fit the DH mold perfectly for whatever team he signs with, so stay tuned. Also, again, it was announced that the draft lottery system will be used for the MLB draft starting in 2023. According to Bleacher Nation, both sides presented proposals for this new system. In both proposals, all non-playoff teams will be eligible for the lottery. However, the owner's proposal consists of the first 3 picks of the draft being awarded via the lottery, and then starting with the 4th pick, it will go in reverse standings order based on the previous season's records. In the player proposal, the first 8 picks will be awarded by the lottery, and then they would use the reverse system starting with the 9th pick. The owners also proposed that a team cannot get a top 3 pick for more than 3 years in a row. If you want all the details of this new system, you can go to the full article by Bleacher Nation and read it online. I'm not going to go in too in depth because this isn't the only story you have to cover this week. Off the bat, I'm not a fan of this new system. It's always fun to see how every team does over the course of the season who gets the top pick for the next year's draft. Maybe my opinion will change once I see the system actually used, but for now I'm against it, and I'll have to wait a year to see it in action. Fun fact about the draft, the top pick of the most recent draft in 2021, Henry Davis, grew up a few towns over from me and went to the rival high school before being drafted by the Pittsburgh Pirates as the number 1 overall pick out of the University of Louisville in July. I'm looking forward to following his pro journey, and I hope to see him in the show with Pittsburgh in a few years. Anyways, let me know what y'all think about these announcements by the commissioner. Do you like the universal DH and or the draft lottery system? I would appreciate hearing your thoughts on social media. Anyways, our next story is around the top pitcher and the latest developments in his legal troubles stemming from off-the-field issues. This past Thursday, the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office announced that Dodgers pitcher Trevor Bauer would not face criminal charges for allegations of sexual assault. This news came after a 5-month review by the Pasadena Police Department. The case stemmed after a woman came forward with claims of assault and accused Bauer of performing the acts. Bauer signed a 3-year deal with the Dodgers prior to the 2021 season and was placed on administrative leave for the last 81 games of the season and the entire postseason after the allegations came to light in June. In response to this news, Bauer released a video statement on his YouTube channel after the news came out, stating that the truth while defending himself and denying what had been claimed by the alleged victim. He said in part, quote, "I never assaulted her in any way at any time." He also said that, quote, "the disturbing acts and conduct that she described simply did not occur." It should also be noted that MLB's investigation is still ongoing and Bauer can still be suspended by the commissioner, regardless of the court's decision. The league stated that, quote, "we will comment further at the appropriate time when addressing Bauer's situation." It should also be noted that the league violence and abuse policy expired when the old CBA did, but that policy is expected to be carried over when the new one is adopted. So I won't be surprised if we see Bauer off the field for a portion of next season, if there is one. Again, if you want all the details, you can read the dozens of articles that have been published online. But this is the furthest I'll cover about it for the safety and comfort of all my listeners. And once again, I don't believe it's appropriate for me to give any additional information on the allegations. With these latest details surfing, do you think Bauer should be banned from baseball for life? Let me know. We've reached the halfway point of the episode, so I'll be right back after this. Stay tuned. Continuing on with the coverage of the lockout, it was reported by the Associated Press that because of the lockout, random drug testing of players has stopped. This is the first time in almost 20 years that such testing has not occurred. Minor leaguers not on the 40-man roster are still subject to these tests because their seasons aren't affected by the decision to stop testing. And in fact, five minor league players were suspended for the start of the season because they tested positive for PEDs. Regarding MLB's decision to stop testing, Travis Tigert, chairman of the United States Anti-Doping Agency, stated, "It should be a major concern to all of those who value fair play." The news came weeks after Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, who were noted PED users throughout their career, were denied entry into the Baseball Hall of Fame. I gave my results on the Hall's voting results in last week's episode as well. So if you want to hear my complete thought, you can listen to that episode. Players were alerted of the hold in a work stoppage guide issued to them by the MLBPA at the start of the lockout, according to the AP, which obtained a copy of the lockout guide. I think it's a stupid decision to suspend testing during the lockout. The reason being is that some players could take advantage of this time to inject themselves with illegal substances without getting caught. While there are tighter restrictions for caught players nowadays than there were 20 years ago, plus the number of positive drug tests have gone down in recent years, there could still be those players who take advantage of the situation to break the rules. I also agree with the chairman's statement about fair play, and most baseball fans would agree with this statement if they read it. However, I don't think we'll see the 90s and 2000s recreated during the 2022 season. Do you agree with my thoughts on the drug situation? Let me know. Our last major story surrounds another major retirement, as on February 5th, longtime MLB veteran Adrian Gonzalez announced his retirement from baseball via an Instagram post. Gonzalez, who last played in the majors in 2018 with the Mets, spent the last few years playing baseball in Mexico. He is most known for his career with the Dodgers and the San Diego Padres. Gonzalez was the number 1 overall pick in the 2000 MLB draft by the Florida Marlins. He also played in the Olympics and multiple World Baseball Classics for Team Mexico. He finishes a 15-year MLB career with a career average of .287 with 2,050 hits, 317 career homers, and 1,202 career RBIs. He was also a 5-time All-Star, a 4-time Gold Glove winner, and a 2-time Silver Slugger Award winner over his major league career. Do you think Adrian Gonzalez is a Hall of Famer? I think he has the potential to be, and he's eligible for induction in 2024. Let me know what you folks think. We're reaching the end of the episode, so now it's time to reveal the player for this week's free agent profile. That's coming up, so don't go away. To finish off the episode, it's time for another edition of Free Agent Profiles. This week, as always, I had y'all vote between 4 players in a poll posted on the show's Twitter page. Sorry there. This week's players were Nick Castellanos, Anthony Rizzo, Jock Peterson, and Carlos Rodon. Only one vote was cast this week, and that person voted for Nick Castellanos. So he's going to be our spotlighted player for this week's edition of Free Agent Profiles. Make sure to follow the show on Twitter so you don't miss the opportunity to vote in future polls like these. Now, let's dive into his profile. Castellanos is a right-handed hitting and throwing outfielder. He attended American High School in Plantation, Florida, where he played baseball for his freshman and sophomore years. As a junior, he transferred to Archbishop McCarthy High School in Fort Lauderdale. There, he was named Gatorade Player of the Year for the state of Florida after finishing his senior season while leading the team to the Class 4A state championships. In the 2009 Under Armour All-America baseball game, Castellanos was named the MVP. He was also named the Class 6A, 5A, 4A Player of the Year by the Fort Lauderdale Sun-Sentinel. He played for the United States national baseball team in the 2009 Pan American Junior Championship, where his team won the gold medal. He was committed to attend the University of Miami on a baseball scholarship before being drafted by the Detroit Tigers with the 44th pick in the 2010 MLB draft, and he made his MLB debut in the Bigs in 2013. He spent the first 5.5 years with the Tigers before being traded to the Cubs at the end of the 2019 trade deadline. He signed with the Cincinnati Reds before the 2020 season and spent the 2020 and 2021 season with them before opting out his 4-year contract at the end of last season. In 138 games for Cincinnati in 2021, Castellanos had 531 at-bats in which he hit .309 with 164 hits, 34 homers, and exactly 100 RBIs. He also had an on-base percentage of .362 and an OPS of .938 with a slugging percentage of .576. Lastly, he was also an NFL All-Star and won the Silver Slugger Award in right field this past season. And he led the AL in the past he led the AL in triples in 2017. According to the latest rumors from before the lockout, a number of teams were interested in Castellanos and talking with him. These teams included the Phillies, Giants, and Marlins. Reports also stated that Castellanos hadn't ruled out a reunion with the Reds after a couple of seasons there. If he were to sign with the Phillies, he would reunite with Dave Dombrowski, the GM who drafted him in 2010 when Dombrowski was with the Tigers. With the adoption of the DH rule in the NL, these teams have the potential to add another bat into their lineup, and as stated earlier, Castellanos fits them perfectly for DH with the great bat. Personally, I'd like to see him sign with the Marlins, but they would be able to play close to home if he were to sign with them, and the Marlins could use a bat like his in their lineup. All in all, it will be interesting to see how he and Kyle Schwarber, who's another DH type bat, how their respective markets play out when the lockout is lifted, where they end up going. As I pride myself and think of myself as a man of faith, that there's a drive into deep left field by Castellanos, and so that'll be a home run to make it a 4-0 ball game. I'm sorry, they were doing a profile on Nick Castellanos. I just had to do that since his home run during Tom Brenneman's apology is one of the greatest baseball memes out there. But anyways, what do you think he'll sign? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. He being Castellanos. Let me know. That concludes another edition of Free Agent Profiles. Stay tuned to Twitter so you can vote on the next episode's Free Agent. We've sadly reached the end of the episode, but closing remarks are coming right up. So keep listening and don't go away. So that concludes the end of episode 7 of the Dugout Report. Thanks again for listening, and I hope you enjoyed the episode. Once again, as a reminder, you can follow the show on Twitter at DugoutRepPod and my personal Twitter and Instagram pages at AndrewCaruso77. You can find the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube. But not really SoundCloud since it's down, so really just Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. Please share this episode with your friends and on social media. That's it for this week, and so this is your host, Andrew Caruso, signing off. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for listening, and so long, everybody.